Hello everybody. Today we will be taking some notes. Again, you can find those on the Google Classroom underneath your classwork tab. They're labeled Notes 9-16. As always, you will find the link to my YouTube channel on the Google Classroom, and then you can go ahead and click the slides to open it up and see what we will be working on today. Do not forget, in order to type in the text box, to fill in the blank, you'll need to first click the text box, and then you can type in the word that fills in that blank. Again, you will be looking for the big, bold, blue words on the presentation. Make sure that you are following along. If at any point you need to pause or re-watch part of the video, feel free to do so, as you do not want to miss any of the important information being presented. So with that said, we will go ahead and get started. So earlier this week we talked about what exactly history is and the difference between historical events and historical accounts. Historical accounts need to be created, and we're going to look today to see how do historians create accounts of the past events. In order to represent events, historians need sources or evidence of what happened. You cannot represent events or create historical accounts without evidence. Without some residue, the past is unknowable. Without this evidence, we cannot know what really happened. Since we cannot study historical events, and again, historical events only happen once and cannot be reproduced, historians must rely on whatever evidence the event has left behind. So what types of sources or evidence do historians use? When historians study an event, they use sources related to the event. We classify those sources into two categories: primary sources and secondary sources. First, we will talk about primary sources. Primary sources are first-hand information about the event, meaning the person that is creating the source participated in the event. They were there, they saw what happened, they experienced the event. Primary sources can include words, images, or objects created by people directly involved in the event. Again, the people creating these primary sources must be involved in the actual event themselves. This does not include historian analysis or interpretation of the sources. The historian was not there, therefore they cannot include any of their own information after the fact. Then it is not a primary source. Again, a primary source must be first-hand information from somebody who was there and experienced it. Please add this information to the chart on the second slide of the notes. Some examples of primary sources. To fill in your chart, again on that second slide of the notes, just pick two from each of these different categories. So you do not have to write down all of the examples, just pick two from each category. So physical or material remains. This can be buildings, roads, tools, weapons, coins, pottery, battle sites, or clothing. geographic records, meaning maps, charts, or place names. They can be visual records, drawings, paintings, or photographs. Or they can be written records, letters, diaries, memos, laws, books, reports, trails, public meetings, inscriptions on buildings, receipts, and emails. And again, just pick 2 from each of these categories for your notes. Secondary sources. Secondary sources contain secondhand information. They're created by people who were not eyewitnesses to the events. Description of events that include analysis or interpretation of primary sources to describe a past event. So these are things that can be created by historians that include their own analysis or interpretation of the event, as they were not there to witness or see what happened. And again, please add this to the chart on your notes on slide 2. Examples of secondary sources: a written analysis of old first-hand interviews about an event, or a book that describes an event written many years after the event, like a textbook. And again, please add these to your chart. Over the course of this school year, you will get the opportunity to use both primary sources and secondary sources to study the ancient world. So it will be important that you know the difference between these 2 types of sources. If you have any questions, please email me or contact me on the Google Classroom. If you need to rewatch or revisit any part of this video, please do so you can fill in your notes and have the necessary information. Thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.